Don't you hate when your cozy game night is disrupted by your family and friends ruining your strategy, forcing you to choose violence, which turns your relaxing evening into a night of carnage? Then you should try these cozy board games.
Hey yo, it's Fifi. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about my top 10 favorite cozy board games. In my house, game nights can get way too intense. Everyone just turns into feral, bloodthirsty monsters. But these are some games that are a lot more chill. They aren't as competitive as some other games like Monopoly or Sorry or something like that. Those ones I feel like really turn people on each other, and then your cozy game night turns into a bloodbath. First, I want to talk about how to make a game night cozy. Music and lighting. I think those are the two most important things. If you're just playing in a room full of bright fluorescent lights that just blind you, that's kind of lame. If you have fairy lights or candles or lamps in your house that can adjust maybe to like different types of light. Also, having good music going, whether it's chill lo-fi in the background, Halloween, Christmas music, whatever your heart desires, whatever matches the mood that's going on. Even like a movie going on in the background, some sort of show, play it. Honestly, having music in the background makes a huge difference. Music helps cover up those awkward spaces of time where nobody's talking and you're just trying to focus on the game. Also, sometimes I have game nights with like newer friends or something and you're trying to get to know each other, but there's not a lot to talk about. And if there's just dead silence, it's pretty awkward. Also, if you're able to host a game night or if you're going to someone else's place for a game night, having good snacks and drinks is always really fun. Whether you have Doritos or strawberries or pretzels or fresh homemade bread or a full-on dinner. Maybe if you have a bunch of friends over, you have a little hot cocoa bar. Right now, I'm filming this and it's like the middle of summer. It's freaking hot, so the thought of having hot cocoa is not pleasant. Cold sodas or tea, lemonade, coffee, water, whatever. Just like having some cool drinks around or having people bring them. You don't have to supply everything, but if you show up to someone's house and you have some snacks or you have a couple drinks to share, everyone's gonna love you immediately. And I think that is truly the way to people's hearts. My last tip to make sure your next board game night is really cozy is don't be competitive. I know that's easier said than done because we don't necessarily choose to throw inanimate objects at our loved ones out of pure rage because they took the spot you were hoping for in Monopoly, or chucking your controller at your boyfriend because they freaking pissed you off and beat you at Mario Kart for the 11th time in a row. But try not to be competitive. A lot of that can be diminished by having the atmosphere be good. If you have any control over the lighting or the music, do it. Because honestly, if everyone's feeling more comfortable and actually enjoying their time together, that's a win. I've had board game nights that turn sour because people start getting mad at each other, and that's not fun for the person who's getting mad or the person they're getting angry at. Unless that person's like a masochist or something, then they're just rude and they're not invited to my game nights anymore. I didn't want to do a bunch of really obscure random board games that are kind of hard to find. Pretty sure you can find most of these at Target, or if there's a local game store near you, you can get them there. And of course, Amazon always exists, but I don't know. I'm all about supporting local game stores. So check those out if that's something you're able to do. These are not in any specific order, so I'm just presenting them as I'm presenting them. All right, and the first game we're talking about today is Wingspan. Wingspan is a pretty popular game right now, and for a good reason. It is so much fun, it's cozy, it's cute, the art style is amazing, and it's just really fun for an animal nerd like me because not only are you playing a board game, but you're also learning about random birds. So in this game, you're trying to collect points by collecting different birds, by laying different eggs on birds, by gaining points from these little cards that you're assigned. You have like quests or research tasks to do, and every different bird has a different ability, and you're able to gain extra points by playing to their strengths. Although you are technically competing against like the other people you're playing with in this game, honestly, every time I play it, I'm not so much focused on trying to beat my friend. I'm more so focused on getting my favorite birds and growing my habitat. I remember the the first time I played it, I almost won by accident, but really I was just like, that bird's cuter than the other one. This is one of my all-time favorite games, and there's a bunch of expansion packs, so it's really hard to get bored of this. I just love this game. Definitely give it a try if you ever considered it. All right, the next game is Munchkin. This one is a little bit more competitive, probably more competitive than any of the other games that I'm going to be talking about today. So the goal is to reach level 10. You kick down the door, you fight the monster that's behind the door, you grab whatever treasure it had, and you do this over and over again until you reach level 10. I love this crazy, fun, fantasy style of game. I love D&D, and I think this is like a very mini version of D&D. It has a lot of the same lingo and nerdy things that D&D books have. The cards in here are really wacky and silly, and it makes it that much more fun. Munchkin also has a lot of expansion packs and different versions. I've also played this with little kids if you have a family or have small children around. It says ages 10 and up, but I think I've played with younger kids and they still have a lot of fun, or they play on teams with somebody. This is a game that keeps them involved and enjoying everything. Okay, this next game, I don't actually own it. It's one of my friends that we do frequent game nights. I think there's a couple on this list that I don't actually own, so don't come for me on that. But I've played them enough times to know how much fun they are, and I still want to recommend them too. So this next one is Bob Ross Happy Little Accidents. So, I'll just put little like pictures over here. How can you go wrong with Bob Ross? I mean, he's like the epitome of joy and love and art. Obviously, this is a drawing game. Everyone starts off with a tiny piece of paper. Everyone draws a couple squiggles on each piece of said paper. You switch them around and you make drawings out of those squiggles. Then you present your probably bad drawing to everyone around you, trying to explain what it is. And you get prompts for each drawing, so you're not just making something up, but everyone has to draw like a computer. Then you have to figure out how to draw a computer out of the squiggle that you've been dealt. It's a creative game. It's chill. It's not like a who can draw best kind of game. It's more like who can be the most creative, who actually can draw something legible. It doesn't have to be the best. In fact, the funniest ones usually win in my household. I definitely recommend you give this a try. It's pretty short and it's really easy to play. Every time I've played it, we just die laughing because the drawings are ridiculous and the presentations are even funnier. You can make like a big deal out of it, like make someone go up and stand in front of everybody and like give a presentation and be like, yo, look at my drawing, isn't it amazing? There is like a winner, someone who gets the most points for having the best drawings. It's so much fun. I definitely recommend that one. The next board game I'm gonna recommend to you guys is Salem 1692. This is a social deduction game. There are the witches and then the townspeople. The witches win by either killing all the townspeople or turning all of the townspeople into witches. Something awesome about this game, besides the freaking cool packaging that makes it look like a book. Can you see that? I can literally just like pop this on my bookshelf and you would never know. So something cool about this social deduction game is that you have cards that are swapped around and dealt to make it a little more complex than just a group of people arguing with no sort of reasoning as to who's the witch or why. So you deal accusation cards to people you think might be the witch, and based on the cards that they play against certain people, you start to deduce who's a townsperson, who's a witch, who's the constable, which is kind of like the sheriff or the doctor or someone who can like heal or save themselves. People start turning on each other and it's a blast. If you have a person that takes games like this too seriously, then that's a bummer. Like kick them out and have a different game night with some chill people, because this is seriously one of my favorite games ever. My husband hates social deduction games because he's a horrible liar. He's just so nice. He never lies. So he sucks at these sort of games, but Salem is one that he actually enjoys because there's more to it than just trying to talk your way out of a situation. Like the cards really tell a lot. Obviously, you talk a lot and you start accusing people and things can get heated or really funny. Another cool feature about Salem is that once a character dies, they get 3 final last words. Also, just the aesthetic of the game, like the art is very realistic and kind of creepy, but I love it. It's great for fall time. I'm totally gonna play this on Halloween because it's just giving Halloween vibes, but I literally play this all year round and I beg all my friends to play it with me because it's my favorite ever. All right, the next game I don't have, but it is Disney's Villainous. I love like Disneyland, Disney World, the vibes that Disney gives off, but I'm not like an avid Disney movie watcher. But I can appreciate like nostalgic, cozy aesthetic that Disney brings to a lot of people. Villainous is one of those games that kind of lets you see a different part of the Disney movies. So you play a villain and you have an objective, whether that's to gain a certain amount of power or to defeat a certain hero or whatever other objective that you're given. You have to complete that quest before the other players do. I think it's really fun because there's only one way to sabotage other players, and it generally is pretty tame because you can't be super strategic about how you sabotage people. You draw from a deck of cards and you pick one of two cards to throw at them. That's what they have to deal with. It's not like totally screw over your friend. It's pretty simple. This is a good one to like play a Disney movie in the background or something, or some good old Disney music, and just let your inner child enjoy this, or like let your inner antagonist enjoy this moment because you get to play the villain, which I think is pretty unique about this board game. Also, I love the art on the cards. It's so pretty. I'm someone who really enjoys something like that. I don't know if you guys are. It's just a whole lot of fun. Number 6, we have Splendor. Here's a description of the game that I found from BoardGameGeek.com. Splendor is a game of chip collecting and card development. Players are merchants of the Renaissance trying to buy mind gems, means of transportation, and shops, all in order to acquire the most prestige points. If you're wealthy enough, you might even receive a visit from a noble at some point, which of course will further increase your prestige. I had no idea the story was that deep. For me, it was like, ooh, pretty gem, buy, ruby, sapphire, ooh, shiny. But I love this description and it makes it more fun and immersive. So this is a card game. You're buying and selling gems to get more and more points. The goal is to have 15 points and the first player to 15 points wins. When I first played this game, I wasn't a huge fan. The more I've played it, the more I've really come to enjoy it. The art is so pretty, collecting the gems is really fun, and everybody kind of levels up at the same time. You know, I feel like in some games, one player can be left behind and the other ones are just plowing through and win before you ever even get a chance. But this one, everyone has a different sort of strategy and it makes it less competitive in that sense. Also, you don't really sabotage each other. The only way to like sabotage somebody is to buy something that you think they might be wanting to buy, but there's so many different options. You buying something probably isn't going to totally wreck them. It's not as competitive. It's a lot more fun and relaxing. And I just like to enjoy the time with my friends and some snacks. Number 7 on our list is Mysterium. So Mysterium is a spooky game where you play as mediums trying to decipher clues that you're getting from a murdered ghost who's trying to remember what happened to them. And that ghost is one of the players. It has a cool mechanism where the person who's the ghost deals out these hint cards, which are just like pictures, and then you have to determine from those hints the person, place, and the murder weapon. The ghost is working with the rest of the mediums so he can figure out what happened to his murderer and so he can finally be at peace. Each person gets their hint. They're trying to figure out what in that picture the ghost is trying to point out to them. If it's like a picture of a gargoyle or something, are they trying to relay to you that the murder weapon was a stone? Or perhaps it was a sword because it has a really sharp claws. It's a little bit of like, how well do I know this person? How does their mind work? It's not just a card game. There's a lot of interpretation involved, and I think that's really fun. And generally you want to work together because at the 7th hour, if even one person hasn't successfully guessed everything, everybody loses. But of course, the players that are the most clairvoyant are rewarded for being good players. I have really fond memory of this game. I remember the first time I played it, I was like in a cabin in the woods with my family, and we were drinking hot cocoa and eating chili, and it was snowing outside, and it was so magical. And I think that's just a testament to what atmosphere really can do for a board game night. All right, next on our list is Scribblish, or telestrations. Basically, Scribblish is like a mixture of Pictionary and telephone. These are pretty popular games, but I just have to mention them because every time I play these games, I die laughing. It is so funny. It's so much fun, and you seriously like laugh your butt off with all your favorite people, and it's just so funny. So essentially, each person starts off with a word or a phrase, then they draw that. Then they pass their piece of paper to the next person, and that person has to write down a word or phrase that they think that person drew. Then you pass it to the next person and they draw that word that the previous person wrote. Hopefully that makes sense. It's not that complicated, I promise. Scribblish specifically has a lot of really weird prompts. Like just looking at the back, it says, "Attack of the bowling balls," or "Watermelon meets sledgehammer," and you have to figure out how to draw those things. And I think it's really funny because you'll be like, how did "today I won a waffle eating contest" turn into a pig getting blown up by the Death Star? It doesn't make sense. It's so funny. It's so fun. And I'd recommend this to anybody, especially if you're kind of new to board games. I think this is one that you'll get a kick out of. I know some people think board games are kind of boring, but if you play a game like this, you will have a blast. It's so easy and you're gonna laugh your pants off. Laughing with your family or your friends is just healing. Whether you're laughing at the actual drawings because you only have a couple seconds to actually draw something, or you're laughing at the interpretation of that drawing. This is a game I like to take out when I'm playing with like newer friends or something because it helps break the ice and make things less awkward. But also playing this with your good friends, then you know like their sense of humor and you know what's appropriate. Sometimes these can get like really raunchy because a lot is left up to interpretation, but dirty jokes can be pretty funny if the people you're playing with are cool with it. Number 9 is Clue. Definitely the most popular on this list, but it is a classic. It's so fun, it's simple, it's easy, a lot of people know how to play it, and I pretty much never get bored of it because it's always something different. There's always a different strategy to go about solving the murder in the mansion. I feel like Mysterium was based off of Clue, but they're so different. That's why I felt like I could include both of them on this list. The copy that my friend has that we use all the time is like a 50s antique vintage style. It's just so aesthetic and so cute. I'm a sucker for things that are cute like that.
I also wanted to mention there's about 1,000,000 different versions of Clue, so I think you should just get whatever version speaks to you, because they're all fun and they're all the same basic thing, but with cool different rooms and characters and stuff.
Last but not least, Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a newer game to me, and I'm freaking obsessed, you guys. Like, seriously, it is so cute. I know you're probably gonna see all these trees and stuff in the B-roll that I'm shooting, but like, bruh. A freaking tiny tree, and it has a little squirrel on it. Oh my gosh, yeah, I can't handle it. In Photosynthesis, you're trying to grow trees, absorb the most sunshine, get the most fertile soil, and just live your best life. You guys, the aesthetic alone, the board, the different seasons, the little animals on there. Oh my gosh, I can't handle it. It's so freaking cute. I am obsessed. This is also such a cool and unique concept. The way that the sun moves every round, it gives everybody a chance to be in the spotlight, in the sunlight. So there's a bunch of different strategies. You know, you can try to just have all your trees at one side of the board or just have them all spaced out. The goal of the game is to soak up the most sun so then you can plant more and more trees. And every time a tree grows to full maturity, you get a bunch of points for that, and that's how you win. The times I've played this game, it does not get that competitive. It sometimes can be upsetting because you're like, bummer, I put this tree in a bad spot. I don't know if it's gonna grow. But eventually the sun will get around and your trees will be able to grow. And it's just such a cool concept. Like, the way that they lay this out is just amazing. I'm so impressed by it. I get very similar vibes to like Wingspan. I think the art and the way that there's a bunch of different props. I love nature. I love animals. I love the changing of the seasons. Even though where I live, it's like summer, more summer, freezing winter, then hot again. I definitely recommend this game. It's pretty easy and it's not very competitive. 10 out of 10, recommend Photosynthesis. Okay, before you go, I have one more honorable mention. It's not really a board game, but it kind of is. It's a tabletop game. You guessed it, Dungeons and Dragons. I just want to say that I literally don't own my own copy of the Player's Handbook, which is the basics of all of Dungeons and Dragons. And that's because I don't have to. I kind of live in a small apartment and I don't have a bunch of room for a whole bunch of books. And there's like 50,000 books. I'm sure you've heard of Dungeons and Dragons, even if you've never played it. I don't really consider it a board game because it's so much more than that. But D&D is an amazing game that I recommend everybody should try at least once. It really helps you connect to the people around you, and I've made some of my best friends from playing this game. D&D does require a bit of work because it's not just a board game. You don't just buy it once and play it once. Like, there's a lot more that goes into it than a couple of pieces of plastic on a piece of cardboard.
So there are actual board games that are inspired by D&D adventures, so I would give these a try for something that isn't super high maintenance, like a whole D&D campaign. This Adventure Begins game literally says a good intro to D&D, but I haven't actually played any of these, so sorry if they're lame.
It's so fun because you can either defeat great, scary evil, or you could just go punch a bunch of goblins in the face, take their money, and then go by the local inn and run the inn. D&D is pretty much an endless sandbox if you want it to be. I'm sure you're gonna see a bunch of D&D videos from my channel in the future, so stay tuned for that. Well, nerds, I hope I inspired you to try a new game today. If you agree with what I said, disagree with what I said, or have any more games you would add to this list, please comment them down below. I love responding to comments. I love chatting with you guys, so definitely check out my socials, specifically Instagram. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Peace out.